The concept and strategy of employment during economic downturns. The current financial crisis has begun to transform into a global economic crisis, which not only affects the stock market and real estate market, but also the export-oriented economy. Steel, manufacturing, and other industries that rely on exports have been affected to varying degrees. The current employment situation is not optimistic, and the unemployment rate is relatively high. In this situation, many college students and graduate students were originally on the sidelines for employment, but now there are approximately over 10 million graduates waiting for employment from past and current graduates. In this situation, many young people feel unprecedented employment pressure. In response to this situation, employment requires a change in mindset and learning how to respond. For concepts need to be updated in current employment. Firstly, we need to change the concept of determining the quality of a career based on salary levels, and establish the concept that career quality depends on development prospects. Due to the economic crisis, if there are still high-paying positions, there will inevitably be overcrowding, and it is too difficult to obtain such positions. Secondly, it is necessary to change the concept of waiting and waiting for the situation to change, and establish the concept of facing reality directly and actively responding. It is uncertain how long the impact of the financial crisis will last, but based on the current situation, it may not be short-term. Thirdly, change the concept of choosing a higher salary that requires higher education, and establish the concept of choosing a lower salary that prioritizes employment before development. The employment situation is severe, and difficult employment is a common phenomenon, but there will still be a certain structural demand. Therefore, young people with high education should be able to put down their airs in employment, and have a competitive advantage compared to those with low education. Fourthly, change the concept that a profession is determined for life, and establish the principle of exercise first. The concept of growth is important. Learn to understand society, strengthen skills, improve oneself, and strive for development in employment. In modern society, a person often engages in multiple professions in their lifetime, so they should consider their first profession as an opportunity for learning. In the current situation, employment needs to open up their thinking and update their concepts in order to cope with the difficult employment situation caused by the economic crisis and find development opportunities in the crisis. With the above concepts in mind, it is recommended that young people refer to the following 5 employment strategies for employment. Firstly, it is not necessary to obtain employment in large cities, but rather consider employment in the Western region and at the grassroots level. In the coming years, a large amount of funds from the country will be invested in the Western region. In fact, the Western region is also a place with development potential and a place in need of talents. High-educated talents can choose to work in the Western region and better play the role of talents. Undergraduate completion. You can choose grassroots employment, which is equally useful. In fact, the Western region is rich in resources and has great potential for industrial development, which has had a relatively small impact in this financial crisis. In recent years, the Western region has introduced some preferential policies to attract talents, and now is a good time to attract talents. Secondly, do not have to take the civil service exam or work in large companies. Instead, choose small companies or private enterprises with development potential for employment. 10 million unemployed people are not a small number. Large companies that have developed recently are generally more directly affected by the financial crisis, with personnel. There is a relative surplus in itself. Now there are more monks than porridge in the examination of civil servants, which shows the situation of crowding single wooden bridges. So, choosing small and medium-sized companies or private enterprises with potential for development first will result in more positions and lower benefits for Chongran currently. Don't take your first career too seriously. The key is to see it as an opportunity to exercise yourself. Thirdly, if conditions permit, one can continue to pursue further education, delay employment, and improve employment competitiveness. Of course, taking postgraduate entrance exams, studying abroad, and other methods can also be a coping strategy. Doing so has several meanings, and at the same time, it may have a mitigating effect. In addition, the economic crisis will eventually pass. In times of economic crisis, improving one's competitiveness will provide more capital to find good jobs after the financial crisis. Strive to cultivate oneself into a versatile or professional talent, and then consider employment, which will increase capital and advantages. The fourth is to adapt to market needs, select projects accurately, and start their own businesses. According to a survey by relevant departments, less than 4% of college students nowadays have entrepreneurial ideas, and even fewer are truly capable of starting a business. In order to alleviate the severe employment situation, the country will inevitably implement various preferential and incentive policies for entrepreneurship. Friends who want to start a business during the economic crisis and have low entry conditions should be a good choice. As long as the project is selected correctly, there is still hope and prospects. Especially with every economic crisis, there will be a substantial adjustment in the industrial structure, and undoubtedly this adjustment will also be innovative. The fifth is to unleash intelligence and creativity in employment. In fact, many successful entrepreneurs nowadays, many of whom were once laid-off workers, have also experienced the process of unemployment and re-employment. Among them, many people can discover demand from the market, identify opportunities, and achieve creative employment. Although this coping strategy and the fourth one may seem repetitive, the reason why I have listed it separately is because many successful startups in edge industries often rely on the unique ideas and discoveries of entrepreneurs. They have a time gap with followers, and when they start doing it, others do not pay attention, but when others pay attention, they develop and grow.